Dan, I can't even begin to describe it. We're literally coming off the summer with a bang.
Yeah.
The news that Khalid al-FALIH, the big daddy, as we always call him, of oil, is out, and a member of the royal family is in.
Yeah, absolutely. A seismic shift for Saudi energy policy here, and the leadership, the apex of power at the ministerial position in Saudi Arabia. This is quite significant for the oil market, I would say. But ultimately, what we'll see with the new prince coming into the energy ministry, for the first time that we've seen a royal family member actually in this position, is essentially policy continuity here. And I think that's also going to be important to look at as we come into this conference over the next couple of days.
Isn't it? Because at the end of the day, this is an energy minister, Khalid al-FALIH, who had really started that relationship with the Russians. He shepherded that relationship, as well as with Asia, like the Chinese relationship. He was behind the South Korean relationship. And now we've got to watch and wait to see in the coming weeks how that is going to develop. Because essentially, as a member of the royal family, one of the things that I think that you'll see in the coming days is this, as you say, continuity of policy and continuity of message. Definitely this side is not going to go off message, we think. But at the same point, you've got to wonder about what's going to happen next to the market, because is he going to have the same ability to control the message that Khalid al-FALIH was able to have?
Indeed, and Khalid al-FALIH was such a recognised face in the West for an otherwise quite secretive regime in Saudi Arabia. He was a champion of Saudi Arabian business. It'll be interesting to see exactly what type of tactics the new minister takes into his position. Policy continuity, of course, is one thing, but a greater focus on the Aramco IPO as well, I think. Yeah. And that's because ultimately, when you look at Khalid al-FALIH's downfall, yes, prices played a role, but also perhaps he wasn't so aligned on the Aramco IPO.
This was always the question, wasn't it? I mean, when there was bad news to talk about the Aramco IPO, he essentially was the one that always had to deliver it. We're delaying.
Indeed.
But at the end of the day, this is all about what's going to happen next for Saudi Arabia and its economy, isn't it? Because as we very well know, and analysts are always telling us, that they need about 80 to 90 a barrel to make this work.
Indeed, indeed.
Now, let's listen into some sound that we have from the last couple of days. Everyone wants to get on board with talking about this. We heard from Martin FRAENKEL. He's the president of S&P Global Platts. Listen into what he had to say.
The big news is that the new minister is from the royal family, and that's getting a lot of attention. But the reality is he's also a technocrat in the oil sector who's been involved in these discussions for many years. So he's got the expertise, he's been part of these agreements, and we expect continuity.
Essentially, they're saying, this is a technocrat. This isn't someone that they just pulled out of nowhere. And this is someone that we would, often see at oil meetings and OPEC meetings and scrums. But at the end of the day, one wonders on the broader Saudi policy here. We saw already a member of the royal family taking the helm of the embassy in Washington not too long ago. Mm-hmm. And that gentleman, of course, has gone back to Saudi Arabia. He's been replaced by Princess Rima bin Bandar, who, through her father and through her own work internationally, is very much a recognized figure. And it seemed as if the tone was that after the Khashoggi incident, they knew that they needed to put someone a little bit more experienced at the helm. So putting members of the royal family in these kinds of positions of consolidating power, that seems to be taking it back to what we saw prior, frankly, to King Salman and prior to the rise of Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince.
Indeed, and let's see what the line from the top is when it comes to overall oil policy as well. We know that Khalid al-FALIH essentially maybe have favoured oil price stability and a calm and easy, progress within the markets, keeping prices stable rather than sudden moves that would cause the price of oil to spike. I think the big question for the market now is whether or not we'll see the new prince coming into the ministry and perhaps deciding to deepen those cuts in order to essentially prop up prices. But the ultimate problem that Khalid al-FALIH faced when you look at this oil policy is that I think it was quite hard for him to come up with a cohesive supply-side policy when crude oil ultimately has a demand problem right now. So let's see what he does and whether or not he moves to deepen those cuts. I think that's a big question here.
Absolutely, Dan. Coming back from the summer with a bang. Matt, we'll hand it back to you.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.